Welcome to episode 183 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. My co-host, Warren Sklar, is a little under the weather this week, but we hope you feel better, Warren. And Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to everybody else. The New Year's coming up here. I got two great guests always come back, and we always have a lot of fun. First is Patrice Brend'Amour. How you doing, Patrice?
And 5, 6, 7, 8. No, you were counting, so I was like, hold it. No, I'm doing good. I'm supposed to be off work, and I'm not, but that's fine.
Uh-oh.
Well, no, I mean, work emergencies. Like we had a little bit of a technical issue in our network. So, yes, we're recovering. So
emergencies happen. And Jeff Gamet back on the show. Always love having you, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and it is absolutely awesome to get to hang out with both of you. I'm sorry that it's not the whole team, but Warren needs to heal.
Got to heal, Warren. Feel better.
Yeah. And but there's no better way in spending probably the last show of the year. So at least I guess for me it will be.
Great for both of you to be here. Like I said, this is the last show of 2021. I've had a lot of blasts, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about with the year in review of Apple in 2021, and maybe a little bit of future for 2022. And as always, we also talk about the news. There's always find some things that were happening this past week. So let's go ahead and just jump right in here. First story, this is on Mac Rumors. New Apple Card customers can now get 5% cash back on Apple purchases. It was this week as we record this through January 31st of 2022. Any new Apple Card customer can receive in the U.S. looks like, and others who can accept it. I know. I feel bad, Patrice. You still can't get an Apple Card.
I have one. So.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I still have mine. So yes.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I still have mine from the US. So
got it.
But I don't get 5%, which is bad.
No, this is only for new customers. So 5% cash back is then there's a normal 3% for typically offered to us people who've had the card since day one. So if you create a new account between December 26, 2021 through January 31st, 2022, you'll be eligible for the 2% higher cashback on iPhone, Apple Watch, Mac, and other purchases when paid in full. If you do the installments, it'll be 3%. So, I think the Apple Card's been doing quite well for Apple and for Goldman Sachs for that matter. In fact, I just got a limit increase. I didn't even ask for it. So how much money I'm spending on Apple lately. So, what do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, good for new Apple Card subscribers.
Yeah, nice little perk.
It does. Yeah. And I mean, I hadn't planned on getting an Apple Card originally.
No? Okay.
But then because I thought, why? What am I doing that would make an Apple Card worthwhile to me? And then one day I realized, I'm buying enough stuff over time, and I have enough Apple subscription stuff. I might as well just do all of that on an Apple Card.
Yeah, yep. I mean, and also you have an Apple podcast, or you're on Apple Podcasts, so that alone is reason enough.
Right. Yeah. So I've got my Apple Card, and I wish everyone could have one, just because it's kind of cool to pull out this white card that could be used as a weapon.
I don't pull it out. Rarely do I pull it out of my wallet.
I only pull it out certain places to show it. Because some people are very excited about it. It's like, do you have Apple Card? I'm like, yeah. They want to see it, like especially here in Europe, because you can get it here, and like even in the Apple stores in Vienna, like they have never seen them. Because I mean, especially with COVID and no travel, like nobody has traveled from the US to Vienna apparently, or not gone to the Apple store.
I like taking it and dropping it on the table so they can hear the cling.
Yep. Yeah, I've never put mine in a reader ever.
Me neither.
I have.
I've never even used it once.
Very rarely. But if they take Apple Pay, Apple Watch goes.
Yep.
Exactly. I mean, that alone is surprisingly enough for most people. So.
Yeah.
Still.
Yes.
Next story, Mac Rumors. Apple shares 3 humorously dramatic ads showing off the Apple 13 Pro camera capabilities. Apple debuted these three new shot on iPhone ads. I just think Apple just makes these awesome ads. There were 3 of them: Detectives, The Basement, and Pave, and they were sampling the cinematic mode. That was a really funny one. Shooting in low light, and shooting with the 3x optical zoom. So they can highlight the 3 main features of what the iPhone 13's camera is capable of. So a lot of fun. Always fun to watch these ads and check it out. We got the link in the show notes. What do you think, Patrice?
I mean, it's really interesting to me. I mean, Apple's ads have mostly been very, very good. I mean, there have been a couple where it's like, okay. But it used to be that ads were like massive productions and like a whole thing. And I'm not going to say like the ads that Apple is putting out these days aren't like produced and aren't like probably a lot of work, but they feel like more normal people doing things and showing off the features that Apple has instead of just like a silhouette dancing in front of a colored screen, stuff like that. So I'm always happy to see them, and as I said, I mean, we have to remember they're still ads. Like it's not a movie or something. It's an app. So take everything they're saying with a little bit of a grain of salt.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, what do you think?
I think Apple, like Patrice said, does great ads, and they're a lot of fun, and clearly they work because we're talking about them right now.
Yeah, it's true. No, they're compared to a lot of other companies' ads, they're very, very good.
Oh yeah,
fun to watch.
I mean, look at Microsoft ads. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even want to comment on that, how bad they are. But the Detectives one was interesting because the cinematic mode is just a pretty amazing feature. But he was the one guy that was turning over to the other guy, and it wasn't going into focus right away until he really turned, and because he kept asking why am I in focus? Am I in focus? And then he finally got into focus when he turned. So that's what's unique about that feature. I've played with that bunch of times. Our friend Guy Searle, when I was at Mac Stock, that was the best one. I had a video I posted out on social media.
I remember that. That was a lot of fun.
We're sitting outside in the Woodstock Square, and I turned over, looked at him, and because he got very jealous because I had I think I had just got the phone like this. That's the second day I had it. So
see, and that's my problem. I don't have people around that I could record and do videos with, so I have only accidentally enabled it. I really want to try it. Like, I'm super excited.
Yeah. Well, I guess we got lucky. It wasn't as bad as things are now, but it was at least we had a chance to try it out. So, next story here: some Apple users are experiencing charging issues after upgrading to watchOS 8.3. A number of Apple Watch Series 7 owners were experiencing issues with charging after the update to 8.3, according to some reports that were out there in their Mac Rumors. Many of the complaints related to third-party Apple Watch chargers, and users were finding that these devices no longer worked to charge their Apple Watches. Yeah, I've kind of noticed that. I don't remember. Patrice, do you have Series 7 or no?
No.
Okay.
No,
so,
I didn't upgrade.
Yeah, so I did give in, but so I still have the old Apple Watch charger that was on the round base that lifts up. It's on my nightstand. And I definitely see that it charges a lot slower than the USB-C charger that it came with. Yeah.
Which is not a problem for most people, or for a lot of people, if they're charging, if they're just charging overnight, because if you're asleep for let's say 7 hours,
right?
If it's a little bit faster, it's a little bit slower, it's going to finish in that time. It's a different story when you're like me. I mean, I'm basically wearing it 24/7, and I only charge it in the morning, and then it does make a difference.
especially if you bump it, then it kind of nudges off of the
yes,
charger.
I've done that a couple of times.
When I travel, I have the Scosh charging station, so it's got the iPhone wireless charging and the Apple Watch charger. So when it goes on to that one, it seems a little faster than the Apple one, but that's all right. Like you said, it isn't a huge deal, but as the article says, it's isolated. There hasn't been a ton of complaints out there, but be aware if you do have
it's
one.
It's a recurring theme. With
Seems
Apple
like
Watch
it.
7.
Yeah, seems like it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the whole charging thing is a little bit of a challenge because, I mean, I have one of those like really nice solo loops. And I mean, they look awesome, but for chargers, they're kind of a challenge. Like, I mean, the standard Apple puck you can just put in and it works. And it's usually what I use like this here on the desk. And that's what I use. But I have a nice, like, I think it's a 12 South charging stand.
Yeah.
And that one is struggling a little bit with that.
Absolutely.
So I think it depends on your charger too.
It does. So, all right. Next story. HomePod Mini has the users this year helped nearly double its market share of smart speakers and screens. Amazon continues to lead the market in smart speakers and smart screens with devices like the Echo Dot and the Echo Show, but Apple has nearly doubled its market share in this segment thanks to the HomePod Mini. This is according to some research from Strategy Analytics. They're saying here estimates that Apple shipped a 4 million smart speakers in the third quarter of 2021, taking a 10.2% market share of the combined smart speaker and smart screen market. And Google's Nest Mini was a top-selling device in its segment, followed by the HomePod Mini and then Amazon's 4th-gen Echo Dot. Interesting numbers here. I think Apple still has a long way to go, and I think we're going to have this. We'll have this discussion a little bit here about what was released in 2021 and smart speakers. So sometimes you question some of these reports, like Jeff, you and I have always said, right? That you wonder about these numbers. You wonder about these numbers.
Yeah, and I mean, don't forget, Apple is in this case, or actually most other manufacturers are competing with a company who basically gives them away.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very cheap when you buy them, but like Amazon has so many deals that it's basically free most of the time.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
Apple did discount. I mean, I think it was sold on Amazon. They were selling the HomePod Mini for $79.99. I mentioned it to our friend John F. Braun on Mac Geek App, and he got excited about. I think I might go buy it. So, sure enough, he did and bought it in stereo pair, and he's raving about it. So I was, this sounds so great. And he was. The HomePod's been out almost 2 years now. I think the Mini. Is it a year? 2 years? No.
About a year and a half, I want to say. I think it came out in 2019. Like it was at least announced in 2019.
Yeah.
I think it shipped in late 2020. Yeah, not 2020.
Yeah, because the HomePod got discontinued this year.
I think it shipped in late 2020.
Yep,
that sounds about right.
Yeah, that was it.
Not
in the
2019.
fall.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to get another one. I'm going to pick one up at the store when I'm in Vienna next week. So.
Well,
I need a stereo pair.
It is fun. It is good. So we'll talk about that just a bit here through our 2021 review. Then last story here. This is through T-Mobile News. T-Mo News. T-Mobile encountered a new data breach. This was just reported as we record this a day or so ago. But it's a small number of customers. And what's happening is the SIM card assigned to a mobile number on their account has been illegally reassigned, or limited account information was viewed. Unauthorized SIM swaps, unfortunately, is a common industry-wide occurrence. However, this issue was quickly corrected by their team, as they're saying. Put safety guards in place, blah blah blah. But I mean, I just upgraded iPhone from my mother-in-law because my wife got the 13, and she had the 11. So and mother-in-law had the 8 Plus, so she was due. So she went with the 11 Pro she has now. So all we did is a simple SIM swap. I took the SIM out of the 8 and 8 Plus and then put it right into the 11 Pro. And I've been doing that for years of ones that I still continue to use SIM cards. Now, the future of SIM cards, that's another story. Where is that going? So, but yeah, it's unfortunate. Two breaches in a year for T-Mobile. It's not good.
It's not the only company who has had issues like that.
They're all dealing with it. AT&T, Verizon.
Yeah, I mean, not even every carrier. I would say most big companies, one way or another, have to deal with it. Like either by preventing them or really fighting a lot to keep stuff secure, or by having breaches. So,
yep,
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I've been writing about the whole data breach thing for for a couple companies recently, and it's. While we can poke fun at T-Mobile and say, "Oh, another one in a year," come on. I mean, this is a constant barrage that companies have to deal with. And if you're a high-profile company, the problem is exponentially worse because now you're being intentionally targeted and not just being hit on with bots. And yeah, it just sucks. I mean, I feel bad for all these companies that have to deal with this. Now, when it turns out that the data breach is related to having sensitive information, just like in a clear text file, okay, now I'm ready to pile on for that because you should never, ever have that data in a plain text file.
No.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, I mean, there's basically no day where there is not some news somewhere about a data breach. Like, it's unfortunately that's the case.
It's unfortunate. Okay, let's move on to the topics for this week. As always, we talk about beta. iOS 15.3 beta 1 was released this past week. They seeded the first ones. 15.2 just came out the week before the final version. I don't see too much as far as any exciting the updates in this version. At least I haven't noticed anything.
I couldn't find anything new.
Yeah, I mean, just bug fixes.
I have a feeling they're going to add some stuff later. I mean, otherwise, they would have just done 15 dot, what is it? 2 dot something? I think 15.2 is the current one, right?
Yeah, so they could have done 15.2.1 or 2.2.
Yeah, so like that. So I'm pretty sure they have some plans for some breaking changes or some bigger changes.
It would make sense.
I'm surprised they even released anything over Christmas. I think it shows that development is now like global, basically, because not everybody is doing Christmas.
In fact, it kind of leaked out at first, which I found to be bizarre. I've never seen a beta, like a incremental beta leak like this did, and then of course it got released not too long after that. So
I have a feeling they wanted to release it, and then something like they wanted to double check something, so they stopped it and then
held it back for unknown reasons.
That would make sense.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, you don't want to push something out that you know is going to destroy phones or whatever. Like, it has happened. So,
but of course, we're still waiting for universal control for Monterey to work. That hasn't happened, and then of course, putting your IDs in the wallet app that's still ongoing. So those are a couple of notable things that are still waiting. I think the watch and an iPad, there really isn't much else. The same thing with watch. It's probably just going to be bug fixes. Nothing crazy. tvOS is always never have anything exciting coming out in tvOS. So pretty quiet on the Western Front here with beta for this week. So
no surprise for the end of the year.
No, not a surprise.
But it's not like the surprise is that they even did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, traditionally in the past, they like Christmas was basically when Apple shut down. I mean, they shut down the iTunes store, like the back end at least, not the front end. You could still buy stuff, but
I think they've even changed that.
Anything.
I think they've changed that now.
They changed it this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just shows you that they now have international offices and enough people that can deal with everything while the US and Europe at least shut down.
And that's good. I mean, we live in a complete world, not a segmented world, and Apple's a big enough company that there's no reason for them to not have had a worldwide presence for managing App Store updates and beta updates and all the stuff that previously got shut down at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have the same thing. I mean, we have people in the Ukraine, developers, and they like their Christmas. I mean, they have Orthodox Christmas, which is, what was it, January 7th, I want to say? 6th, 7th, something like that. And they work over our Christmas time, basically.
Yep. So, all right, let's move on to let's do a little bit of the Apple year in review. How did Apple do? What was the best? What was the worst in 2021? I think there were some decent things this year, but there was kind of some not so decent things. I think the panel here will we'll definitely go through a few of these discussion points here. First one, things we kind of thought, you kind of think about it. The HomePod Mini, we just talked about it. Technically speaking, there was a new release. They released new colors. So I guess you could call that as a release. I don't know if you really would. What again? They have orange now, yellow, blue, and a number of other colors. So it was great to see new colors. Just people can have fun with them. But again, the speaker is not evolving, and I really think. I mean, it's getting there. I mean, I think the fact that the smart home devices are starting to increase in popularity as far as working with HomeKit. Talked about this before, where there's minimal amount of numbers of what's in for HomeKit, whereas Amazon and Google have really got a domination in the marketplace for it. But we talked about this, Patrice, and so some of the plugs you've just purchased, and they are HomeKit compatible, but there's some that aren't.
Yeah, but I mean, don't forget, there were some. I mean, I'm definitely agreeing with you. The HomePod has still a long way to go, and we talked about that. But I was just thinking about it, like what happened this year, and I'm not sure. I think they introduced Thread last year, or maybe it rolled out this year, because I don't remember it being there at the beginning. But I mean, they did announce basically that the HomePod would be like the gateway for other devices to use Siri, for example. Stuff like that. So they have added some let's say software features to the HomePod, some HomeKit features. I have not seen it being widely adopted, but I didn't expect it to anyway, because I mean, it takes. I mean, it's hardware. It takes a while, or it's probably partly hardware, so it takes a while to roll that out. But I think Ecobee at least integrated Siri, and maybe some others.
Yeah, it did. I have an Ecobee, and I have to check that, because I do have integrated currently with my Echo. Well, it is an Echo. Let me just go up to it.
Yes, it is an Echo. But I think they added. I think I remember an announcement that they added support for Siri, or you can add it
as software.
In software, yeah.
The firmware upgrades.
Because it was already in HomeKit, so that was an easy one.
That's true.
But other than that, I haven't heard too much. But I mean, I remember, which event was that? Was that WWDC where they had the whole house in the video? Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah, so Apple is definitely pushing it.
Yeah, for sure. I thought about this weird concept. What would you think the HomePod, the larger HomePod, come back out? Maybe something like a Max. You know, they have a Max AirPods. You know, no, you don't think so?
Nope.
I think they will bring something to the line eventually, but I don't think it's gonna be the HomePod as we know it. I could see something like a TV bar, or like a bigger setup. Eventually,
I agree. Yeah, the bridge that Apple crossed when they retired the HomePod, they burned that bridge.
Yeah, they would have not done that if they could do another, or if they wanted to do another device. They would have just kept going and just not producing many of them until they have a replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they made a very clear statement, which is the original HomePod design is done and gone forever.
Yeah.
I'm sad. I'm looking at it right now up there.
I know.
Yeah, I have one here next to me, so I really like it.
I got two here.
I do really
Still
like
works.
it, but I think, I mean, the market was pretty clear in that it was just too expensive for what it was.
It was. But I luckily got a good deal. Pretty much two for the price of one. So.
Me too. Me too.
That's the way to do it. You know, I'm still running without stereo HomePods. But I think
really don't need to.
Yeah, but you kind of
you want to. I know
you kind of want to. So I think I'm just going to have to get another HomePod Mini, and that will be my HomePod stereo setup.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, like for the bedroom.
And since I have the Sonos Move as another speaker, and you can quote unquote pair them in AirPlay because you can get them to play both at the same time. That gets a pretty good sound.
Nice.
Hey,
you're living the multi-speaker life.
Thanks to my work for giving me an anniversary present. So
Nice.
I wouldn't have bought that otherwise because I already had the HomePods. But hey, you're going to offer me a Sonos Move, which is pretty good priced speaker, and it's actually pretty awesome. I do like that one as well. So, and then AirTag. AirTag was a big thing this past year. I mean, relatively big, I guess it should say. Does have some room for improvement, I think. Biggest thing I think really that's been standing out with the AirTag as of late is these security concerns. These rogue tags being placed in cars, and then I think there was a story we talked about where, in fact, it caught my eye because it was a guy who had a charger, which I own. That he said that his phone was telling him there's an AirTag in your car, and it was buried, I guess, under the back of his. I don't know if it was in his trunk or where his spare tire was, but they buried it pretty good. But he was able to find it because Apple changed the security to allow these AirTags to be identified if somebody was doing it. Same thing if someone's dropping it in a woman's purse, or or if they put it in someone's pocket or wherever. They're doing a good job, but press was always having to sensationalize that just a little bit.
Oh yeah, totally.
But what do you think? How AirTag itself, Jeff? I'll start with you. Where do you think AirTag is, and how's it evolving for you?
Okay, so AirTag turned out to be a surprise for me on a personal level because with all the traveling that I did in the before time when we didn't have the pandemic. I'd put tile trackers on all of my luggage, my computer bag, and it was great. And then AirTag comes out during the pandemic, and I thought I'll get one so that I can talk about it from firsthand experience. And in the end, I should have bought a 4-pack because it would have cost me less. Because much to my surprise, I liked it so much. I wanted to put AirTags on other things, and and here we are. Now, as far as the security goes, I'm having a really, really hard time with this.
Yeah,
and it's because it's not that I'm looking at what Apple's doing and thinking, I can't believe that Apple has created such an unsecured device. I'm looking at it thinking, how can we have made it this long without having the same thing, the same type of coverage happening for Tile, which is actually, to the best of my knowledge, never happened. And Tile is 7 years old?
At least.
And there is literally no privacy or security protection with Tile at all. And when I say literally, I'm not saying that in a hyperbolic way. I'm using literally in the correct definition.
In the literal sense.
Yeah.
I'm using literally in the literal sense. And everything that they're complaining about with AirTags, I'm thinking, people, we've been able to do this for years with Tile.
Oh, and much longer with other devices. I mean, GPS trackers and so on have been around for forever, basically.
Right. Yeah, and you can get a pet collar GPS tracker. That's pretty small. Just cut the parts off that hold it on to a pet's neck. Now it's even smaller, and you can drop that in someone's bag.
I mean, it's not that we didn't predict this. The funny thing is, when I bought it late because I waited. I wasn't sure because I wasn't traveling. I wasn't sure I needed it, and I mean, I have ADHD, so I will forget things and lose things. But I've over my life basically come up with coping mechanisms so that I always know where my stuff is. So I didn't really need it, and then after a little while, I was like, okay, I'll just buy a 4-pack because it's not that expensive, and I really want to give it a try. And I've been like the one time I traveled, I've been super happy to have it because I could keep track of everything and I knew where it was. So it's sad when it was released, we talked about it, and I predicted that the privacy side would be the biggest problem for it, and that women especially would be like. It would be a concern. Funny enough, that like the first stories really weren't about like women being stalked, and I've seen them on Twitter.
Right.
It was about guys in their cars. So that tells you a lot about the state. On Twitter, I mean, a lot of people are using this to like to sensationalize the whole thing and say, oh, look how bad Apple is, and like Apple bashing is very popular, but there is a real concern, and I think Apple could do more. And I said that day one, Apple can do more. Apple should allow you to scan. Like they have reduced the time. Like I think it used to be after 3 days, if a tracker was with you, after 3 days it would tell you, which is way too late. Because
that's way too late.
If you have it on you and you go home, someone will know where you live after a couple hours latest.
Yeah, it should be
3 days is a long time. They've changed it now to I think somewhere between 8 and 24 hours. But I personally think they should add a scanner, and you can get a scanner for your iPhone. There are Bluetooth scanners, and it will show AirTags. It will actually show tiles as well. It will not show GPS trackers. So you can get that, but Apple should just build it into the app, and then like for us, it's easy. Like we can just open the app and scan and see, okay, someone put something in my purse.
I agree.
Apple can do more. Apple is doing a lot, and I'm surprised that Apple's thought of that. And I think that shows the diversity within Apple. That it wasn't just because I would say for most men it's probably not a concern, but for a lot of women it is. And Apple thought of that, and I said that shows that Apple is conscious of that and probably has the right people in the right places to address that. But they can do more.
Sure. And I'm totally fine with holding Apple to a high standard.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, all of these other tracker device makers need to be held to that same standard.
The entire industry, like GPS tracker, it's the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's definitely, I mean, I am holding Apple to a higher standard, but all those stories that I see, I still roll my eyes. I'm like on Twitter, I censored myself and I didn't respond the way I would, because I saw one of the threads and I was like, again, instead I kept it clean and simply told them to go report it to the police.
Pound sand.
No, I just told them, because I mean it is a bad situation, and I just told them go report it to the police. AirTags are linked to Apple IDs. I know that probably doesn't help you all that much, because if it's a fake Apple ID, like a one-off one,
like a throwaway ID,
then that might not help too much. But I mean, you never know. Apple might be able to do something.
Yeah. And ironically, this was the only brand new product that Apple released this year, because there was nothing else that was new, brand new, like a new product line. AirTag was
okay, not a new product line. I'll accept that.
A new product. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Wrong term there. A new product. Yes, it was a new product. It's not a line just yet. They would come up with some more stuff for it to be a product line.
Until they have a second one.
My bad. But it's one of the only new product of this past year. So, but it's definitely good. Definitely, I'm enjoying them. I think they're good. I mean, a lot of times I've got them on. I have my set of work keys. I got my set of my car keys, and then I have one in my backpack, and then I have one in my Siri Apple TV remote. So I'm covered with the 4-pack. So I got the 4-pack, and
which is what I should have done in the beginning.
Yep.
Well, you can still do it. I mean, nobody's stopping you from doing it.
Yeah. Well, when I need more, I'm just going to buy a 4-pack this time.
Absolutely.
Do that.
Then the iPhone 13. It wasn't a dramatic upgrade over the 12. I mean, yes, I think we saw a definite improvement with the camera, and we just talked about it with the cinematic mode and the ProRes video and a lot of things that they've added. But was it a justifiable upgrade? And as we talked about this on previous shows here, if you had the iPhone 12, there really was no compelling reason to upgrade to the 13 if you really felt like you had to. Me and I think you, Patrice, as well. We tend to upgrade every year because we love it, and the Apple upgrade program works well for me. So I either can trade it in, or someone is interested in buying it after a year, which that did happen with my family member this year. Then they'll get a decent price for a 12 versus a 13, which they did. But what do you think, Patrice? I mean, what the product was just, I think, just an incremental upgrade for this year, right? There wasn't really, unless you feel something else.
Yeah, I think mostly yes, and that's fine. I would say the Mini was maybe the only one that wasn't really an incremental upgrade, because I don't think we had a 12 Mini, right? Maybe I misremember.
12 Mini, yes, we did.
Okay, so then
and
even
13
that
Mini
one
as well.
Yeah, and then that one. Yeah, I mean, it is a significant enough upgrade for me from 12 to 13. I mean, I came from the 11. I didn't, because I can't get the upgrade program here anymher, because I was still enrolled until recently, but I can't get it here because it does not exist outside of the US. Another one of those things that don't exist here. So I switched from the 11 to 13, and that was a big enough jump. But even that one wasn't massive. No. Like, the design is mostly the same. Yes, you got an extra camera. Yes, you got a nicer screen. Yes, you got more battery, much more battery life, actually. But it's, I am having a hard time getting excited about iPhones these days. I think we've reached a point where they're mature.
They are.
I agree. We've reached that point. The big change that I look at every year in iPhones is what's happened with the camera.
That's mostly the only change. I mean, the battery life does improve mostly,
which is great. But it's about what's in the camera. And honestly, I would have an iPhone 13 sitting on my desk right now, 13 Pro instead of a 12 Pro, if I'd been able to keep my 10 working for me the way I needed just a few more months.
Yeah.
And but I hit a wall where I realized I cannot wait for that next model. And so I got a 12, and then like 5 months later we get the 13, and I thought, well, I could sell the 12 and get the 13, or I could just do the easy thing and keep the 12, which is what I did.
Yeah, and I mean,
that camera, wow.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing with mature products. It's not anymore about, okay, what's the next, what's the latest, let's wait for the next phone because it's going to be a major jump. You get it when you need it. You get it when your phone breaks, or when you just feel like it's time. Yep,
I'm with you.
And I think that, I think Warren experienced that with his wife. I experienced it with my wife. That the fact that, why do I need to upgrade for? I like this phone. I don't want to change it. I got to get a new case. I got to do, I finally talked her into it. So she went with the 13. I said to her, there's no reason to buy the 13 Pro. You're not going to use it. The 13 is a perfectly suitable iPhone. Cameras are fine. I mean, and so she went with that in itself. So, and I think Warren was the same way. But I think she was on the iPhone 10. So like you, Jeff, you definitely see quite a drastic difference between the iPhone 10 as from the iPhone 13.
Yeah. But that is a different story. I mean, like some people can have a phone for 7 years and it's like half broken and the battery lasts 5 seconds. And when you tell them to upgrade, they're like, "Why? Like I like this phone. It works for me." Yep. Like, okay,
it works for me for 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
6 Plus is still in use. It's still compatible.
This camera here is a 7, by the way.
7. Yep. So, and then next on the line here is the iPad. Now the iPad Pro 2021 was a brand new year, brand new processor. We remember during the event earlier this year, there was the big exciting announcement that the M1 processor is now in the iPad. It wasn't a great. Yeah, we broke in the lab, and Tim Cook was with his mastermind, was it a big upgrade? I'm kind of leaning towards not. I had a 2018 iPad Pro, and I upgraded to the 2021. Was it a substantial upgrade? I mean, I do see some performance improvements. I did a Geekbench on it and definitely saw it. It made a difference. But the normal person, I don't see it being a huge deal. What do you think, Patrice?
No, I don't. I mean, is it good that Apple put it in? Yes, because I mean, what else could they do? Like they had to put the new processor in. Might as well do the M1. It is closest to a like desktop machine. So yeah, makes sense. Mm-hmm. But neither the operating system nor the software is there to really use it. I mean, with some really rare exceptions, like if you're using your iPad to edit like multi-layer Photoshop files, maybe, or like record stuff. I mean, I don't know how you're doing that.
Do some really people serious video editing.
Something like that. But as at most, I'm not sure a lot of people do that. I mean, there's a reason why I stayed with the 2018. And I'm honestly not planning on upgrading to an iPad Pro next year. After 4 years. Like, it's doing the few things that it needs to do, and I'm honestly considering like buying a new iPad and it not being a Pro, because I'm like, I don't need it.
Yeah.
You know,
this is disappointing. Like the iPad Pro, the 2021, honestly, for me, was a bit of a disappointment.
Well, the exciting thing for me in the 2021 iPad is that it has the M1 processor. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of a hollow excitement because, like you said, Patrice, there's nothing that's really taking advantage of that processor. So, yeah, it's a cool device, but not one that I could justify buying.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, the iPad that came out this year that I got excited about is the Mini.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll talk about that.
A lot of people did.
Oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
No, yeah, but that's a good segue. Go ahead and finish your point.
One last thing, like that's the difference between the iPad and the Mac. I mean, the MacBook Air has the same chip, has a very similar display, but I could get the MacBook Air and tax it to the Macs easy. Mm-hmm. I would have a hard time taxing the iPad Pro because I have a hard time finding apps that could do it.
Yeah,
right. Because they're limited.
Yeah.
But good segue. Did you actually get a iPad Mini Gen 6 Gen yet, Jeff?
I have not, and I can tell you exactly why. I blame the pandemic because it used to be in the before time. It was just so easy to walk into an Apple store, look at the device, and be like, "Yep, that's it," and get exactly what you want and walk out the store. And now I don't want to go in stores, so I have not even held the new iPad Mini yet, and that's why I've been able to put off actually buying it, although. I should have just bought one already because it's not even like I want it just because I covet the device. I'm still using an iPad Mini 4, and the battery life is shot, and it's sluggish with iOS 15, and and I can just go on and on with the other ands about why it's time for me to get a new one. So I think I'm actually talking myself into just getting one because hey, I've got an Apple Card.
Yeah, there you go.
And I think it qualifies for the interest-free financing.
Yes, it does. Yeah, you're financing.
I just bought an iPad. Maybe. And my power just went out.
Oh no!
There it goes. It's back.
Yeah, you froze.
This is why it's important to have battery backups on all the critical equipment.
Yeah, that was great.
I should get that.
It's pretty seamless.
Yeah, apparently my camera though is not on the battery.
Yep, it flashed for a minute.
Change that.
But you're back.
Yeah.
So, but the big thing with the iPad Minis, I'll be brief with that, was the USB-C port. Now the entire line has the USB-C port except for the 9th gen iPad. And then 8.3-inch screen, much better screen, liquid crystal display, A15 Bionic. I can go on and on. So you really got to decide, was that the iPad for you? And obviously it fits for your fits for you, Jeff. So you might be there might be a new iPad Mini in your near future.
It's not even a case of it might be in my near future. The real question is, what date do I pull the trigger?
There you go.
Do you wait for the next one?
Well, at this point, why would I wait for the next one?
Yeah.
But
exactly. Well, I mean, especially since we don't know, it might be another 2 years.
It might be a couple years. And if I do the thing where I wait for the next one for more features, I do exactly what I tell people not to do, which is wait to see what's coming next, because then you'll always wait and you'll never get what you need when you need it.
Yes, it's true.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, I mentioned the 9th gen iPad. They keep evolving on that. That one's still on Lightning, but does the job for someone who wants a really budget iPad, starting I think around $329. Schools will have them for $299.
Mostly schools.
Most of schools.
A lot of schools, a lot of businesses for like simple things where they really don't need the power; they just need a screen for simple apps.
A very smart move on Apple's part to make this iPad.
Yeah, and I mean they always it's also very smart. They always announce education pricing, and I'm pretty sure if a large enough organization comes and says we want to buy 100,000 of these, Apple is going to make even a better deal.
Of course they will.
Yeah.
Education pricing is just the published lower price, not the actual lower price.
Yeah, exactly. And then we talked about earlier a little bit, the Apple Watch Series 7, slightly larger display. The battery life was a little better. Honestly, I don't think it's really extremely worth the upgrade, but crazy me, I did upgrade this year, only because I had a nice gift, and I had a good had a good trade in on my Series 6, so it didn't cost me as much because I had a little gift card, and I had the trade in, so it kind of put me over the edge. But I do like it. I do like the way the size of the Apple Watch is, so compared to the 6. If you have the lower models like the 4 or lower, then you might want to consider it.
The display is really nice.
And I couldn't justify buying the 7.
Yeah. So if you got the 4, I think 3 and lower for sure. You don't.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. If you're on a 3.
Yeah,
it's time.
4 and 5 and 6, I think you're fine. I mean, I don't think there's any really.
Apple is still selling the 4, right?
They're selling the 3 and
they're selling 3, which to me is crazy.
Just the 3 and then the 7. Yeah, they're not selling the 4 or 5 anymore, or the 6.
I thought they had 3 models that they were still selling.
3. They're selling the Series 3 still.
Yeah, Series 3, Series 7. I thought they had one.
They have the SE. They have the SE.
Oh, the SE. That's you're right.
Yeah. So
yeah, I've seen the Apple Watch in the store, and the display is really, really nice.
It is.
And I could definitely use the battery life. I could use the battery life because I'm wearing it. I thought about it, and I looked at the trade-in here in Austria for the current one, and then I just decided it wasn't worth the cost.
Yeah. But like I said, the gift card kind of put me over the edge.
Yeah, for sure. I would have done the same thing.
Oh, sure.
And then briefly, I'll talk about AirPods. The AirPods 3rd gen, that was a little bit overdue. I mean, because the 2nd gen was a little ways to go. I still love I'm still using them. I have the AirPods Pro here, and they're great. But for a little more lower price and getting decent quality sound, the AirPods 3 you can't beat them. The craziest thing that they released this year, this thing. the polishing cloth. It's been back ordered for like months. I mean, it came out, I think, like 2 months ago. I think it's still on back order.
Oh, it's still back ordered.
Yeah, and it's $19. And how much do you think it costs Apple to make this thing? $2?
$2.
Yeah.
Probably $250.
They include this. Of course, you got to spend $5,000 for the high end monitor that goes along with your Mac Pro, and they include it. But why can't they include this with people spending over $2,000 on a MacBook Pro or something like that? Yes. So a little bit of the craziest of the products that were released this year. That of course,
for sure.
Us Apple enthusiasts have to buy one, right?
Oh, for sure. The funny thing is, I ordered late November. I ordered my MacBook Pro. As you said, crazy expensive. I should have included the $20, but I added it. And I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna get my Mac probably by Christmas, and then like late January, I'll probably get the polishing cloth. Right now, it's looking like the bill is gonna show up at the same time.
Yeah. So
I was saying 6 to 8 weeks. So. And
then. As we mentioned earlier, the retirement of products. Sadly, the HomePod is gone, which we just talked about. The 10R has now been retired. That's the camera I'm actually using right now. You use the 7. I'm using the 10R as my webcam.
10R is a good iPhone.
It is a good iPhone.
It's a good camera.
That's a great camera. Yep. So.
It's an upgrade.
But it's still the funny thing is you could say that all these phones have been retired, but you could still find them. You could still find them in the third-party sellers. And,
for sure.
So and so it definitely is something we can do. So briefly, we can talk a little bit about our expectations of what's going to happen in 2022. Since we're at the year end here in 2 days, we'll be in 2022 here, less than 2 days. I talked about the Lightning connector of its death. I don't know if it's going to happen. You and I, Patrice, we all had a bit of a debate about that. So we could try to talk about just that topic real quick about 2022. There's so many others I'll bring up next week during next week's show, but I still think it's going to happen. I just can't see how Apple can continue on with this old technology. I mean, I know they held on to the 30-pin connector for a good long while, but that had to go, and it did. But I still think it's going to happen.
I agree with you that they're going to switch away. I'm convinced that they're going to move away from a connector at all, like completely. And here's my reasoning. Something you might not be aware of. The Apple Watch Series 7 has a high band wireless connection capability in it that Apple got, I think, FCC approval for, and I think they're using it, or at least that's what the filing said. They're using it right now for diagnostics. So basically, instead of the diagnostics port that they had, they can now just plop it on a special pad probably, and then just connect to it. And I'm thinking that is the trial run for a replacement for the iPhone.
Okay.
I just think if they wanted to switch to USB-C, they could have done it. They could have done it like 2-3 years ago. They decided not to, and I think they're just waiting it out until they have that in place. And it might be this year, it might be next year, but it's like I think what we can agree on is Lightning is on the way out.
Yeah, just when.
Just a matter of when.
And Dave, I disagree with you that it'll be USB-C. Patrice, I think you nailed it. And I think that the Apple Watch, in some ways, has become Apple's new iPod Nano. Yeah. And what I mean is the iPod Nano was a test bed for Apple. And so you could look and see what they're doing there and get an idea of what was coming to other Apple products later on. And I think that the Apple Watch, to a degree, is serving that purpose now. And and so they're testing this new data connection system on the watch. And if it works the way that they want it to and expect it to, then we can see that come to the iPhone later.
Yeah.
Not to the iPad, for a long time, if ever, because there's a different use case where you need to have that USB-C port.
File connection.
Yes. Yeah. The iPads are closer to. Yeah, the iPads are simply closer to Macs in usage, and that's why it makes sense. You're right, Jeff. Like the Apple Watch is kind of a test bed, and it makes sense because it's a low volume product where they can try things and test things out, and like if something breaks, it's not it's not going to affect many people because like it's still a low. It sells a lot, but it's still low for Apple, a low volume purchase or volume line. And I mean, even if they have to replace a device, it's not as expensive as an iPhone. They can just, like, worst case, they'll just produce new ones that don't have the whatever broken bit and just replace them. And yes, there's going to be a news story about it, but it's the Apple Watch, so.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
All right. Well, see what happens in 2022 because there's going to be plenty more to talk about. Then we'll save that for when we get back into the new year. But I have two apps I wanted to talk about really quick before we wrap things up for the year here. The first one here I found super interesting was for Apple Watch. It's called the Watch Faces Gallery #1. It does offer in-app purchases. It's you install it on your iPhone, of course, and then it's going to come up with some really cool custom Apple Watch faces that and you can actually have some fun with it. It's not too terribly expensive either. I mean, it's free to try, and then I think it's like around $7 if you want a lifetime. And then the Faces app will give you some really cool, nifty little watch faces on it, which is that was kind of cool. So check that out. It's something different. And the other app I wanted to talk about, and in fact, you asked about this with TV, Jeff, and that's what caught my eye. And Dave Hamilton actually suggested this. This is a app called TVTime. So it lets you be your TV guide, and then you can track what movies you like and what you want to watch next, and get notified what's going to be available. It has an app, I believe, for the iPad and the iPhone. I put a link in the show notes to the to their website. So it's an actual site that you can set up for an account and sign in. And as I said, it's available for both iPhone and it actually works on Android too. So check that out too. I thought that was a cool way. And I know we've got some shows to watch here because Cobra Kai just came out. I got to watch that.
See, another one to add to the spreadsheet that I made that I will switch over to TV Time.
I'm sure you have Boba Fett on your list.
Yeah, I've already watched the first episode.
Gotta watch that still.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, I gotta get on there.
Dexter New Blood just came out today.
Oh. Dexter's out. It's Showtime, and then the movie I want to see is the Being Ricardos for Lucille Ball.
Yep,
I haven't had a chance to watch that yet.
Interesting.
I want to check that out. Star Trek Discovery is still going, and it's great. So there's
Prodigy starts back up next week.
Yep, yes. Prodigy's coming back.
Discovery is on hiatus until the 10th of February, I think.
Well, they have one more episode.
They just had the latest episode today.
Oh yeah, today's Thursday. Yeah, I better go watch it.
If you haven't watched Don't Look Up, put that on your list too.
Oh yes,
Don't Look Up. Yeah,
it is so good.
Hilarious.
So check that app out too. I think it's going to be a great great way to track all the time you spend TV watching. I've been binge watching Schitt's Creek because I hadn't ever watched it.
Oh, Schitt's Creek is so good.
I know. I'm in season 5 now, so
you're ahead of me.
I finally gave in. It's like I don't want to watch this, but then I started watching. Like, oh my god, this is so funny.
I'm going through Homeland again, and I'm at the point where they have German actors that like German actors and bad German like script. I don't know who did that. Like, okay, someone used Google Translate. That's basically the level of script. I'm like, okay, like Ouch. You could have done a better job. I mean, at least they're German actors. So like,
yeah, true. All right,
produced in Germany, German actors, and then
nothing wrong with that. All right, well, we have brought this episode to a close, and we've brought the year of 2021 to a close on In Touch with iOS this year. It's been quite a whirlwind year. I think we've had a lot of fun this past year, Jeff and Patrice. Both I just thank you enough for being on the show as many times as you have, and kind of hope to continue on and have you on in the future, because we just have such a blast and lots of great things to talk about. That's going on. So. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. We usually record this live stream, usually record the show and stream it out live on YouTube on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. We were a little early today for the holiday. And that's on our YouTube panel, which is at youtube.com/DaveG65, which you can also watch the past streams as well as any episodes that we record. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where you can see many of the topics that we talk about each week. They're linked in the show notes. You can definitely go out and read some of the articles on things that we talk about for this week. And that's out there. You can definitely subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others, but better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg. Yes?
And I wanted to mention, since it's on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the thumbs up, and
subscribe, like a guy with Cyril.
like the little bell icon that gives you notifications. So next time there's a show, you will get informed when it's live.
Yes, please subscribe. I probably should put that in my spiel here.
You should.
Give Dave a like, give Dave a subscribe, and then click the share button and send the link to all your friends too.
Oh yes.
Yes, absolutely. And you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Jeff, you have a YouTube channel. You can tell everybody else how they can find you.
Oh, sure. My YouTube channel, youtube.com/JGamet. Do the same there. Like, subscribe, share. And Twitter and Instagram, I'm JGamet on both. And JGamet on Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. I have a pattern there. And I'm looking forward to the new year, because then we'll be back into Mac Voices Live, the Big Show, and the Mac Show.
Yes. We'll be back. Patrice, thanks so much for being here as well. I always love having you on. And
thanks for having me and moving the show for me.
Yes, of course. And tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, I don't have a YouTube channel yet. I should probably get one for Foodie Flashback, because I'm actually thinking about live streaming that as well, because why not? So look out for that on @Foodie Flashback on Twitter. That is actually my podcast where I talk not about tech, and where I interviewed both David and Jeff and so many other really cool people about food and their food stories and memories. And if you want to know what restaurants to go to in Chicago, then just listen to David's episode, because there were so many on it. And I have plans for next year to come to Chicago and just visit at least a couple of them. After that episode, I was like, okay, Chicago, I have to go. Seems to be a cool city for food. Other than that, I'm on the British Tech Network, Big Show, Mac Show, and I don't have consistency in my social media accounts for some reason. I think I'm just switching projects too often. But you can find all the links if you want to buy me a coffee, all the projects, all the podcasts, blog posts, just everything on our website, thepatrice.com.
Excellent. Well, here we are, the end of the year, 2021. Thanks everybody for listening. I hope you had a great time listening to all our great shows. You can go back and listen to past episodes. We'll be back next week, which is 2022, and talk about all the new things that are going to be happening next year. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk again soon.